What is up, guys? This is yesterday's close. Hang on. Much better. So today, I wanted to go over the new raid bosses. Interestingly enough, I had this whole video planned. I had these raid bosses, ready to talk about because they're interesting, to say the least. But at this point, it's more than likely a mistake because raids changed again today at 4 p.m. I guess that works. So we're going to talk about the new raid bosses because we've had 3 changes in 3 days, and kind of go over top 6 counters, 2 budget counters for each one. If you guys want to go out and get these raid bosses, these are going to be your top 6 chances at securing the raid boss, and then 1 or 2 budget friendly, like in case you don't have one of the top 6. All the information that we're going to be getting today is from PokeBattler. This is a great website when you learn how to read the information, because it does kind of throw a lot of information at you. It gives a lot of really good information. I myself still do not quite understand everything. I will do my best to kind of go over it with. Let's go over what we have in raids in tier 1 really fast. Duskull, Shanks, Shuppet, Drifloon, Snorunt. Every single one of these can be shiny. First on the list is actually going to be Duskull. Duskull is of course, it's possible to be shiny. You're really going to be looking for 403 on the CP. That would be a perfect IV. Your top 6 counters are going to be Gengar, Mewtwo, Honchkrow, Absol, Weavile, and Tyranitar. Number 7 and number 8 being Banette and Houndoom. Those are completely feasible and not super hard to obtain. If you look at the bottom right below Banette and Houndoom, right below their pictures, it says time to win. It actually gives you the amount of seconds that it's going to take to win using just that Pokemon. Estimator estimates the amount of trainers that you're going to need to beat this Pokemon in a raid. If that number is less than 1, statistics prove that you can take it by yourself. Next up, we have Shanks. Perfect IVs for Shanks are going to be 500 on the CP. If you encounter 500 CP on your Shanks, congratulations, you have a 100% IV Shanks. The top 6 counters for Shanks are going to be Rayquaza, Mewtwo, Espeon, Alakazam, Groudon, and Gengar. The most budget friendly after the top 6 is probably going to be between Golem, Executor, and Breloom. At least in my biome, Shroomish spawn tons. I mean, everywhere. They're freaking everywhere. With Breloom, you can see time to win is 12.4 seconds, and it estimates 0.07 trainers. So you wouldn't even have to show up in full clothing. Next on the list is actually going to be Shuppet. A 100% IV Shuppet is actually going to clock in at 581. So if you encounter the 581, make sure you Golden Raz, make sure you catch it. Top 6 counters are actually going to be Gengar, again, Mewtwo, again, Banette, again, Alakazam, Houndoom, and Executor. So it looks like Ghost type attacks and Dark type attacks are going to be your best bet. Budget friendly, Espeon's probably your best bet here. Weavile if you've got Sinnoh, Electivire if you've got Sinnoh. So Flareon, it's going to take 12.4 seconds. Super fast, super easy. 0.07 trainers. So again, leave your clothes at home. Next on the list we have Drifloon. I'm so happy to see Drifloon in raids because I haven't seen one since the Halloween event, and I almost cried because I couldn't get the shiny. Max IVs, you're going to be looking at 684. So let's look at our top 6. You're going to have Gengar, Zapdos, Deoxys, Mewtwo, Sharpedo, and Electivire. So outside of the top 6, probably the easiest ones to obtain here would probably be Jolteon, Manectric, maybe. I mean, I have been getting a lot of Electrikes lately. Maybe Cacturn if you get a lot of Cacnea spawns. But I mean, out of those budgets, it says 0.07, so I'm not going to make the joke a 3rd time. Come on, please. Have some respect. I wouldn't do that to you guys. Leave your clothes at home. Next, and actually rounding out the last of our tier 1 raids, is going to be Snorunt. Max IVs are going to be 507 on the CP, so make sure you look out for the 507. Top counters are actually going to be Machamp, Charizard, Flareon, Typhlosion, Moltres, and Lucario. Want a Riolu. Flareon's pretty easy to obtain. I mean, you do have to like roll your luck if you've already used the name trick for Eevee, so most budget friendly, probably going to be Breloom, maybe Hariyama, Breloom here. Definitely Houndoom's pretty easy to obtain. Talking about tier 2, we're going to have Sableye, Sneasel, Mawile, and Mischievous. So let's talk about Sableye. Max IVs after the raid are going to be 843. Your top 6 counters are going to be Rayquaza, Gardevoir, Metagross, Salamence, Togekiss, and Dragonite. So this is actually where you're going to start to see this little crossbones with a skull, and you're going to have a number after it on Pokebattler. This actually indicates how many deaths you will receive using this one Pokemon. So out of the top 6, most of those are pretty difficult to get a hold of. Most budget friendly after the top 6. Granbull's kind of in there. Ursaring's definitely pretty easy to get, at least in my biome. Flareon's pretty easy to get. Next, we're going to take a look at Sneasel. Sneasel, of course, does evolve into Weavile, which you need a Sinnoh Stone for. Your max IVs are going to be 1172. Top 6 counters are going to be Machamp, Breloom, Blaziken, Hariyama, Lucario, and Heracross. Breloom is probably the most budget-friendly there. It does take 1 death out of the entire raid, which isn't horrible. But let's say worst case scenario, you don't have anything out of the top 6. Maybe Ursaring is your next best bet. Maybe you have an Infernape, since Gen 4 did spawn like crazy for 2 days. Next, we're going to talk about Mawile. Max IVs are going to net you 934 on the CP. So our top 6 are going to be Moltres, Entei, Charizard, Flareon, Blaziken, and Magmortar. You don't actually have anything out of the top 6. Probably Houndoom's going to be the easiest there. Maybe Camerupt. Maybe. Last but not least, rounding out the tier 2 is going to be Mischievous. Such a weird tier 2 boss. I don't understand. I just don't see it as a tier 2. It should be a tier 1 at worst. Max IVs are going to net you 1100. You're actually going to have Gengar, Mewtwo, Weavile, Honchkrow, Tyranitar, and Absol. Houndoom and Banette are probably your 2 best bets here. They're not super hard to get. Shiftry's not super hard to get. Next, let's talk about tier 3. We've got Gengar. Perfect. Scyther, Pinsir, Sharpedo, and Machamp. So let's look at Gengar. Your max IVs are going to net you 1644 on the CP. That's important because a max IV Gengar, really just a max attack Gengar is just, oh, you've already seen so many in these top 6s. You don't understand how freaking good they are until you use one. It is great. It is an amazing attacker. It's going to counter itself. How neat. You're going to have Mewtwo with Shadow Ball, Espeon, Gengar, Alakazam, Tyranitar, and Metagross. Outside of the top 6, probably Executor, Houndoom are probably your best bets. Next, we have my personal favorite raid boss, Scyther. Max IVs are going to put you at 1546. Your top counters are going to be Tyranitar, Rhyperior, Amistar, Golem, Alola, Golem, Regular, and Moltres. Outside of the top 6, most budget friendly, probably going to be Flareon here. Probably Flareon, Typhlosion, maybe Sudowoodo if you have plenty that spawn. Next, we're going to be talking about Pinsir. Max IVs on Pinsir are 1690. Your top 6 counters are going to be Moltres, Entei, Charizard, Rayquaza, Flareon, and Blaziken. Outside of the top 6, not a whole lot. I mean, Houndoom keeps showing up here. Golem's pretty simple. I don't know. I have a hard time finding Geodudes, I'm not going to lie. Sharpedo with max IVs is actually going to be 1246. A defense of 71. So I've actually soloed quite a few Sharpedos myself. I have a 96 or a 98%, I'm not 100% sure. So you're looking at Electivire, Machamp, Raikou, Breloom, Zapdos, and Hariyama. Outside of the top 6, Venusaur, Sceptile, Jolteon, those are pretty easy. Our last tier 3 is actually going to be Machamp. Perfect IVs are going to be 1746. Huh. I have a pretty good Machamp. Top counters are going to be Psychic. Psychic type attackers are perfect against Machamp. Mewtwo, Alakazam, Espeon, Moltres because of the flying type. It also does really good. Gardevoir for the fast attack, and Rayquaza, of course, for the flying. Outside the top 6, really difficult here. Celebi, if you got good moves on your Celebi. Executor, probably pretty easy. Gengar if you can solo it already. And Scyther, this is completely soloable at level 40. I do need to make that clear. At level 40, your Pokemon can solo against this Machamp. Next up, we have our tier 4. So we have Absol, Houndoom, Alola Marowak, and Tyranitar. Absol, of course, perfect IVs you're going to be looking at 1443. Your top counters, because of the dark typing, are going to be all fighting Machamp, Breloom, Hariyama, Blaziken, Heracross, and Lucario. Breloom, of course, is not super difficult to get a hold of. Hariyama, probably easier than Machamp to get a hold of, unless, you know, you can participate in the raid to get one. Outside of that, looks like Ursaring's probably an easy one. That's about it. Getting tougher. It's getting tougher. Like, the counters are getting slimmer and slimmer. Houndoom, which we've talked a lot about today, perfect IVs are going to be 1505. Your best counter is going to be Kyogre. And then you've got Machamp, Breloom, Hariyama, Tyranitar, and Gyarados. Outside of the top 6, easiest budget. Ooh, Floatzel's actually in there. That's interesting. I wouldn't have thought of that. Vaporeon definitely is an easier target to get than some of these others. Sharpedo, if you picked him up in a tier 3, that's about it. Alolan Marowak, perfect IVs are going to be 1048. Top counters are actually going to be Gengar, Kyogre, Mewtwo, Rhyperior, Tyranitar, and Weavile. Ghost attacks are of course going to do good. Water attacks are of course going to do good. And you also have your rock type attackers. Outside of the top 6 here, Banette's pretty attainable. Sharpedo we've talked a little bit about. Empoleon, that's nice to see. To actually round out the tier 4s, we actually have Tyranitar. It is going to be my goal to get my brother a Tyranitar because he doesn't have one. Max IVs are going to be 2191. Machamp, Breloom, Hariyama, Blaziken, Heracross, Lucario, all fighting types. Fighting types are going to be your best bet against Tyranitar. Outside of that top 6 though, Ursaring's pretty easy. That's about it. I mean, maybe you have Metagrosses from the recent community day. Maybe you like Primeape and you stock up on them. Maybe you have Infernape. Last but not least, we have Cresselia. Cresselia is our tier 5 raid for the next whatever, how many days ever it is until December 18th from right now. Max IVs are going to be 1633. Cresselia has a huge defense stat of 215, which makes her pretty bulky. Your top 6 is actually going to be Gengar, Mewtwo, Banette, Weavile, Honchkrow, and Tyranitar. You're looking at basically the same counters as you would have against any Psychic raid boss. Outside of the top 6, Houndoom does make an appearance. Alakazam, Metagross, of course, Cacturne, Sharpedo. Those are all not too hard to get a hold of. Shiftry, of course, coming back. So that is actually going to be all of our raid bosses. The next and only last thing that I want to talk about is I do want to claim 3 Evolve 2 Pidgeys. So we're going to do 3 Shiny Caterpie chances right now. With the end of November coming around in just a few days, what do you guys speculate will be the big research in December? Honestly, at this point, I'm kind of hoping that it's going to be Regice. I know that's weird. Some people are going to be like, yeah, Alex. Some people are going to be like, no, anybody else. The only reason that I say that is because it kind of makes sense that with winter here and having an ice type Pokemon as the research breakthrough, it would be cool. The fact that they've already done the dogs, the fact that they've already done the birds at some point, it just kind of makes sense that they would move on to the next round of legendaries. It would be an interesting thing to build up the next 3 months of Regis and then do a big reveal for Regigigas. That would be really cool. That's just me being hopeful though. So as you can see here, we do have 3 Evolve 2 Pidgeys. We're going to be looking for at least 1 Shiny Caterpie. I will make a bet with anybody in the chat right now that we're not going to get it. So we're actually going to go ahead and evolve our first Pidgey. Goodbye, Pidgeotto. Say hello to the professor. Our second Pidgey. Goodbye, Pidgeotto. Say hello to the other Pidgeotto and the professor for me before you get transferred back as candy. Fingers crossed Here's to hoping. We're going to go from the bottom to the top. Last one, guys. Cross your fingers, cross your feet, cross your toes, cross your tongue. Here we go. Alright, I hate to end it on such a bummer of a note, but my camera's going to die again because I always forget to charge my batteries. So, thank you guys for hanging out today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found at least something in this video informational. If you would like to hit that like button, if that's your thing, go ahead and hit it. If you want to leave me a comment, let me know what you have to say down below. And until tomorrow, which is the day before the community weekend. Oh, so glad, so ready. I just want all the Dragonite. We're actually going to go over things to not do on Community Day tomorrow. Okay? Thank you guys so much for hanging out. I really do appreciate it. Catch you tomorrow. That was a little too aggressive where I pointed at the camera like, tough guy.